It's really incredible to meet you. I was doing all my research over the last couple of days on your social media presence, your YouTube presence, and I think, because you also have this, from the American Dream experience, I think we would all just love to hear first of all, I think everybody who asks me about social always says, one of the reasons you're doing so well is because of the fact that you're on TV, right? And it's so easy for you because you're used to being on TV. Well, I would love to hear from you, and I think we all would, about, what came first for you? Was it creating the YouTube presence? Was it, is it something that you also are focusing on now more on Instagram, or was Instagram before as well? And then how has television made you feel either more confident to put out the YouTube content, or I guess impacted what you're putting out there?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Shannon, for those that don't know me. I'm a realtor in the Phoenix Southeast Valley. I lead one of the top 15 teams in our area, and all of our business comes directly from Instagram and YouTube, which is so cool. So I'd love to share some tips on how we are literally getting people calling daily saying, hey, I just watched your YouTube video. I follow you on Instagram. Will you be my realtor? Are you taking on new clients right now? It's such a cool place to be, and it's actually fairly easy to do. And it really comes down to consistency. I like to ask people to think of who their role model is in the business, whether it's a podcast host, a realtor in another state, and I can guarantee you that realtor did not post one reel and become an overnight success. They didn't host one open house and sell 100 homes. They were consistent every day. And if you want to grow your business on Instagram and YouTube, you just have to be consistent. And that's kind of where my journey started. Starting with Instagram is just bringing people in on my daily life. I used to have 2 Instagram pages. I had a business page and a personal page. My personal private. I closed my business page down and just let the world in on my personal life. And I'm a mom with 3 young boys. If people follow me on Instagram, hopefully, they know, like, and trust me, and they know my kids' names, they know my dog, they know where we're traveling. And it's just been so cool, and really consistency. And nothing's going to be easy your first time. Your first video is not going to be awesome. You just have to do it.
Well, what I think also everybody wants to know, because this is the second question I always get about my social, is who helps you with your social? And is there an evolution for you from what you started with and who you started with when it came to it? Like, did you start doing it yourself, or have you always had, what does your structure look like?
Yeah, so I know a lot of moms are watching, right? And we live very busy lives. And some people could have the excuse, hey, I don't have time to run my own Instagram. But honestly, I've never had anybody run anything on my Instagram, because it really, I feel, unless you have an amazing person that can follow you around with a camera or something, it really has to be that behind the scenes in your daily life. And I can give a few tips on that, because a lot of people have the excuse that it takes too much time. I will, no matter how busy I am, I will always update my Instagram story throughout the day. And at the end of the day, it might be 3 or 4 minutes of your whole day. We all have a 3 or 4 minutes. So I just really kind of run my own Instagram, and I tell people to, hey, write down 4 things that make you you, like, besides just being a realtor, because a lot of realtors only post nonstop real estate on Instagram. You're not going to get the come list me calls. You're not going to get all of that from that. You have to write down 4 things that make you you. I am a mom with young kids. I'm a realtor. We like to travel. We're involved in our church. And those are like the type of things you'll find on my Instagram. And you have to really be 80% personal and maybe 20% real estate.
I love the ratios. I also love the fact that you're committed to it, and you're saying, hey, no matter what, I'm going to dedicate a couple minutes a day. But I am sure that with your YouTube, it's not a couple of minutes a day that takes to create those incredible videos. I was doing some snooping, and I have to say that the production quality is great. You guys are coming up with amazing topics. How did you get to that level with your YouTube, and what does your structure look like now?
Yeah, so I used to be back in like 2019, I was a solo agent. It was just me, my videographer, my TC. I didn't really want to grow. I felt I have to do everything myself. I don't want to trust anybody to do this. So I and up until like the end of last year, I was up early morning making my own YouTube thumbnails, uploading my own YouTube videos. Finally, I got a virtual assistant. So that's one, hire I think anybody should have. And she helps me upload videos, tag them, because YouTube is one of
Mhm.
the biggest search engines in the world. I've sold homes off of YouTube because I tagged the video, best realtor in Chandler, Arizona, and somebody Googled that and found the video. So YouTube
Amazing.
huge, having help with the upload, and then just really committing to build that YouTube content, whether it be, I mean, every home we list gets a professional video commercial. I really suggest realtors are on their video to build that know, like, and trust, not just having a video of the house, but get on there. You can check out my YouTube for some examples, and then people can see your face. And then also lately, we've really been investing in just frequently asked question videos, like what's an appraisal waiver, what are the pros and cons of living in my town. And I did a pros and cons of living in Beach Creek, Arizona video, and already has 11,000 organic views. So it's so cool to just get that video content up there. I found a studio here in my town where I can have a teleprompter and sit in front of a camera and knock out a bunch of content. I could do 15 videos in 2 hours.
Wow. Well, that also takes talent to once I think that everybody on here, I can tell you that when I did my first bashed content of video, it was in 2019 in November. It took me a whole business day to crank out 12 pieces of content.
Yeah.
Now, when I sit down and I want to do 15, 20 pieces of content, I can do it in 3 hours. I can do it even less, depending on how short we're going to be doing. And it just takes that practice, and you'll never get there if you don't start.
Yes, I agree. You just have to start. And nothing in real estate, if you think back to your first listing appointment, the first time you took a buyer out and you didn't know how to open up the lockbox, like nothing's easy the first time. You just have to get in front of the camera, stop the excuses, right? People have so many excuses of why they're not good on video, why they don't want to get their face out there. It's going to take
Right,
practice.
right.
Videos were horrible. I've had to delete a lot of them because they like make me cringe seeing how loud I'm talking and all of that. But you just got to do it and it'll pay off. I mean, and you have to be consistent and patient. It probably took 3 years of being consistent with social media and video to start getting these daily calls. I mean, we're on track. I have just a small team. There's 5 of us. We're on track to close $100 million in real estate from Instagram and YouTube this year. So it's been so awesome, and anybody can do it.
And how many transactions is that for you? Like, what is your average transaction volume? I mean,
Yes,
value.
about 100, over 100 closings.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It takes a real team to be able to facilitate that many transactions. It's no, like you can't just, even if you're a really great broker or realtor, I mean, it's still like, still takes some work to make that happen for sure. A lot of hustle.
Plan your day out. People will say, oh, I don't have time to do Instagram. But what I say is like, get up earlier. How are you spending your time? And just really having, as moms and, in real estate, we have to be living by a calendar, or else real estate will take over your life. You won't be eating dinner with your family or going to your kids' sports games.
Well, and so for those watching, we have a couple questions. They want to know how long you have been doing this for, if you haven't already said.
Okay, so I started in real estate in 2005. I actually come from a new home sales world. So for 8 years, I did new construction. And then in 2014, I left new home sales to start in resale.
Amazing. And let's see if we have any other one. Just we have a lot of encouraging words here from everybody. I think the other thing I'd love to understand is, with your YouTube, how do you come up with your calls to action? How do you kind of brainstorm your new ideas right now with what you're putting out there? Is it just, questions you're already getting, or how do you come up with those ideas?
Lately, because I'm getting a lot of clients calling me because they found the YouTube video, I'm asking myself, what are people Googling? I'm here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, we have a lot of people moving from out of state. So if you're, living in California, thinking about moving to Arizona, you're going to Google things like pros and cons of living in that city, best restaurants, best schools, all of that. So we've got a lot of content on just things to do in our town and events and restaurants and neighborhoods. And I do have a videographer and I believe in professional videography, but don't let that stop you. If your budget is low, get out your cell phone. And I mean, I've sold a ton of homes from one video I filmed on my cell phone in a brand new home subdivision, and people were Googling Barney Farm subdivision and my YouTube video came up. So the sky's really the limit of YouTube videos that you can film, and listing videos, neighborhood videos, go to new home subdivisions. And we do a lot of events. So you're really building your personal brand on social media and YouTube, where people can watch your stuff and really feel like they know, like, and trust you, because we live in this day where we all have virtual friends that we've never met in person, but we feel like we know them because we follow them every day.
So for you, you have the videographer that you have is somebody that's full-time just for your team at this point?
He does work just for us, but we pay per video. So, $300, $500 a video, but it's well worth the investment when you're selling homes from that, one video.
Yeah, totally. And then as far as your TC, is that somebody that you had outsourced to like an outside? Because I know outside of New York City, there are these, like, you can get a TC that's either, part of I guess it's like a group that does TC or transaction coordination.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think any realtor listening has to have a TC. You have to really figure out what is your hourly rate. I know it took me a long time to learn this. I mean, I was 6 months ago making my own YouTube thumbnails. So TC, definitely important. I did have a TC on my team, but she just worked Monday through Friday, normal hours. And now our brokerage actually hired a team of 7 that works 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., even holidays. And it's been life-changing because I used to get home from showing homes late at night, writing counteroffers, missing dinner with my family. And so our brokerage kind of brought that on, and it's been amazing.
And you're with, is it Coldwell Banker?
Launch Real Estate out of Scottsdale.
Okay. There you go. So that's really exciting. That's a very, very interesting investment for them to make, and really something that probably, I mean, it sounds like it's completely life-changing for you. Oh. That's great, because in our market, we don't have, it's different because we don't write the contracts. So the attorneys do the contracts, and so we're always trying to figure out, how to make that, how to make that happen, because you're working through the attorneys. But, for us, the TC side looks more like creating the board packages and the purchase applications for the condos, because we need those waivers or board approval. So we just kind of have different needs. But I think exactly what you're saying, somebody who's working that paperwork, who is in the office, who is making sure that you're able to be out in the field, because this is your highest and best use, is being in front of your clients.
Yeah, I agree. Plus timing, right? The market is moving fast. And if I'm out showing homes all day on a Saturday, I can't pull over and just type up an offer. Having that TC team that can help is really important.
Amazing. And so you've been in the business since 2005. So you started before you were a mom, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I started in new home sales before I had kids, and got married, had kids, and new home sales, it's really tough. You don't see a lot of moms with young kids in that business because you basically live in your sales office. So I was sitting at my new home sales office desk when my oldest son, who's 11 now, took his first steps, and I watched that on video. Like, it was so hard. Like, sometimes I would drive to work crying because I'm just going to be like locked in this sales office all day. So it took years to kind of get I guess I felt like, man, I saw all these realtors failing, and new home sales was very consistent. Finally, I took the plunge, left new home sales, started in resale, had to start from scratch, and just really built my Instagram and video. And, now it's really paid off.
We have one person who's got a lot of questions. Ryan wants to know, what have you experienced for a long time about being a realtor? How many kids do you have? I think you have 3, right?
Yep, 3 boys, 7, 9, and 11.
Wow. Well, and I actually think that for those watching who are curious about that transition from working on home builder sales, new home sales, do you feel like that transition was something that, you had to put in something more in the beginning, but now you're able to leverage your time more because you grow your team and that kind of a thing? Or what do you think has been the biggest difference for you?
I think realtors that come from kind of a corporate job, whether it be new home sales or anything like that, I think we're very disciplined, right? We had the great training on how to overcome objections and, you know, all of that. So I could take all of the things I learned in new home sales and bring it over to resale and really just implement these new things with video and everything. I mean, it's so amazing because the clients I'm working with, they've reached out to me and they follow me on Instagram. So they know, like, and trust me. We have things in common, right? And I think that's another thing where people just have to understand that you have to build your personal brand and not try to be for everyone, right? Like, I'm not afraid to post my kids or I'm at church or things like that. And I'm going to build kind of that tribe of people that think of me. I want to be top of mind when it's time for them to buy or sell or their friend. And it's just so powerful.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm trying to think. I mean, you've given us so much information here, and I think everybody is very, very thankful. It's really inspiring to see what you've done for sure. I really resonate with this idea of having gotten some sort of formalized training, whether it's through working for a home builder or working for another top agent. You know, there's a lot to be said for that. And I think that if you're creating also that environment for the agents that are on your team, you're giving them a great service as far as growing up in the industry too.
Yeah, I love that. I know I was reading up on you and how you were you were an assistant for a few years, and that's so powerful. I think everybody wants the overnight success. They want to get their real estate license and sell $100 million their next year, but you have to put in time and you have to be patient and consistent and be prepared to be consistent with those things, whether it's cold calling, holding open houses, whatever it is. Be consistent with that every single day because you're going to get busy and then maybe
Yeah.
stop calls and be desperate for business. It's going to be a nonstop roller coaster of busy, slow, busy, slow. And you just have to commit to a few things and don't try to do it all because that's impossible. You definitely need help in this business.
And so with what's going on right now, are you planning on expanding any further? Like, what do you see for the future of your business aside from just, you know, selling more homes and growing your overall, you know, GCI and millions sold?
So I recently invested in a coach. I think that's another thing that all realtors should have because I'm very much a small but mighty team. I don't want this huge team and I'm very particular on agents. So she's really trying to coach me through bringing on more people because we do have so much business. We really have to think about our clients first and the service we're providing, which we provide a great service currently, but we could get to the point where we literally don't have enough people to help, you know, the inbound leads coming in. So I have produced a video of our team and um, we opened up applications. I've received so many amazing applications and I kind of put things on because it's a fear of mine growing. And I think a lot of people can relate with that.
Oh my God. I think it's really, especially when you have a good groove and you have a good team culture and you feel like everybody's really united. I do understand what you're saying. I always feel like I'm going to tip over the apple cart when I, you know, start opening up and integrating more people. Also because I'm in that phase like you are where, you know, things are coming in so quickly and I want to service everyone, but I also want to make sure my agents are also feeling like they're truly getting as much business as possible too, because, you know, anything could shift, mortgage rate, something like that, and things could change. And so I totally feel what you're saying. Also, it is a lot to deal with the personalities. If you don't have your own sales manager managing your agents, you know, you have one person who needs a lot of extra attention and it can take a lot of time.
Yeah. How many agents do you have?
I have 5 agents right now. It's and they're and everybody's unique and different, and some are in different places of their career for sure. But what is really special, I think, is like right now we have a really great culture, and that feels amazing. And then I've heard from coaches, and there was even an agent that I saw that has a huge team, and she was saying, you know, the biggest trap is being really happy with your culture and not wanting to expand, you know,
Yeah.
and at some point you need to realize, and I think for especially, you know, the metaphor from having 3 kids, you know, your first kid, you're just so, they're so precious. And then your second, you loosen up a little bit. By the time you have your third, you're kind of like, hey, you know, in the middle of the pandemic, I sent my son to a preschool that I had never set foot in because I had to pick a preschool for him, you know, in the middle of November of 2020. And so, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for the same with agents. You know, your first agent, you're like, oh my God, I want to make sure that you do everything perfectly. You know, I want to make sure that you're truly an extension of me. And then you loosen up a little bit and you're like, hey, you have your own style, but you need to bring me in. And then the third, you're like, hey, what do you want to do? Because
Yeah.
like, and and of course there's a standard and there's training and there's, all of that. But I think it's definitely, it changes the more you get them, more agents you have.
Yes, that makes sense. That's good advice.
And where have you sourced your coach? Is it somebody local, or are you using one of the larger groups?
Very simple. Yeah, we're with Tom Ferry Coaching, and we've have Team Plus coaching. So my whole team gets coached, and it's been life-changing. Very skeptical of coaching for a long time, because I'm like, man, they're not going to understand. I run my business different. Instagram, YouTube, are they going to tell me to go door knock? I don't do that. I don't cold call. But it's been amazing just to have that accountability and working on those things that I don't have the strength in.
Oh yeah, I'm with Tom Ferry Coaching too, and I find that it's a really, really incredible platform. And she's, my coach is pushing me in ways that I wouldn't have pushed myself, to the point where like we had a couple weeks off, and I was like actually happy that I was able to process what usually comes at me from her, because I feel like I leave the call, and my ops person looked at me and she was like, "That was a lot." I was like, "Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot," and I don't know when we're gonna do all of this.
It's so worth it, right? I really need to be investing in these things, and don't think of it as an expense. Think of it as an investment in your business, a coach, a TC, a videographer, all of those things, because it's just really life-changing.
Yeah, well, and especially in this business, I think every agent, when they're in the beginning, they think of all of their commissions as only profit, and they don't want to eat into their profits. But in order to scale and do extra business, you need to start building out infrastructure, because especially with the direction that residential real estate's going, they can't compete with the teams. And so unless you want to build that team and be efficient and be able to go up against the other teams, that's the direction of the industry, and you have to embrace it and be ready to build that infrastructure. And I do think that having the infrastructure of the team helps you with your projections of the year, because there's a certain point when you start to really just get so systematized that instead of worrying about making sure you went from 45 transactions to 50, which would be a big difference from percentage wise, you're saying, hey, now we're at 100. I want to get us to 150. And if we land at 135, that's still going to be amazing, which you can only do once you have the team and the systems.
No, there's so many benefits, plus quality of life. Like, I was doing it by myself up until early 2020, and working 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. Every single client that called me, I'm taking them out. I'm very intentional with my time with my family, and thankfully I was still able to spend time with them. But quality of life sometimes is more important than anything. Even that solo agent out there that maybe doesn't want to have a team, but they're scared to join a team, and they just keep thinking of the splits. But you really have to look at your annual income and quality of life. You're going to sell more homes if you're on the right team. And so it's powerful for sure.
Yeah, amen. I really agree with that. Well, this has been incredible, I think, for all of you. So give us just where is the best place for everyone to find you? Give us a little bit more. And of course, if there's any other calls to action, whether it's new agents on your team or ideal buyers or sellers you're looking for, this is a great moment to put that out there. This will be put up on YouTube in a couple of weeks, and we want to make sure that Moms of Real Estate is supporting you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'd love for everyone to follow me over on Instagram at Shannon_Gillette. And I respond to every single DM. So if anyone has questions on anything, I'm happy to help. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks for reaching out. This was incredible. I think we all learned a lot. I'm feeling very inspired about upping my YouTube game. So that's awesome. And I know we're going to see each other at a Tom Ferry event.
Yes. All right. I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.
Love it. Thanks, everyone. Bye.